Jacob is finally settled in the land of Canaan. He's got a massive family, 12 sons from 4 different women. You can already see the tension brewing, right? But out of all these kids, Jacob has a glaringly obvious favorite, Joseph. Joseph is 17 years old. He's out working the flocks with his older half-brothers. And what does he do? He brings a bad report back to his dad about them. Yes, Joseph was the family tattletale. Now, Jacob doesn't just quietly love Joseph the most because he was born to him in his old age and by his favorite wife, Rachel. No, Jacob has to make it loud and clear to everyone. He gives Joseph a special gift, a heavily ornamented, richly woven tunic. You probably know it as the coat of many colors. Side note, imagine you and your brothers are out sweating in the hot sun doing hard manual labor in your dirty work clothes, and your youngest brother struts out in the equivalent of a custom-tailored Gucci suit that your dad bought only for him. How would you feel? The Bible says his brothers hated him so much they literally couldn't even say a kind word to him. It was pure, unadulterated bitterness. Hey guys, gather round for my dream. If Joseph being the favorite wasn't bad enough, Joseph lacks a little something we like to call reading the room. He starts having these prophetic dreams, and for some reason he decides it's a brilliant idea to tell his already furious brothers all about them. Dream number 1. Listen to this, Joseph says. We were all out binding sheaves of grain in the field. Suddenly my sheaf stood right up and all of your sheaves gathered around and bowed down to mine. The brothers' reaction. Are you kidding me? You think you're going to rule over us? They hated him even more. Dream number 2. A little while later, he has another one. This time, he tells his brothers and his dad, get this, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars were bowing down to me. The family's reaction. Even Jacob had to step in here and say, whoa, kid, calm down. Are you saying your mother, your brothers, and I are going to bow to the ground before you? But while the brothers were practically foaming at the mouth with jealousy, the text says Jacob kept the matter in mind. He knew God spoke through dreams, and he wondered what was really going on. The worst checking-in trip ever. Sometime later, the older brothers are way up north near a place called Shechem, pasturing the flocks. Jacob, in a wildly questionable parenting move, says to Joseph, go see if all is well with your brothers and the flocks, and bring word back to me. Sending the tattletale in the fancy coat to check on the brothers who want to wring his neck? Not ideal. Joseph wanders around a bit until a guy points him toward Dothan. Now imagine the brothers sitting around. They look up, and way off in the distance, they see that bright, shiny coat coming over the hill. Look, they mutter. Here comes the dreamer. Before Joseph even gets close, the brothers hatch a dark plot. They decide they're going to kill him, throw his body into one of the empty water cisterns pits in the desert, and tell their dad a wild animal ate him. Then, they say sarcastically, we'll see what comes of his dreams. The pit and the prophet. Here's where it gets interesting. Reuben, the oldest brother, feels a twinge of conscience. He knows he's responsible for the kid. So he says, let's not take his life. Don't shed any blood. Just throw him in this dry pit. Reuben's secret plan was to come back later, pull Joseph out, and take him home to Dad. So Joseph finally arrives. Before he can even say, Dad says hi, the brothers jump him. They violently strip off that beautiful, hated robe and toss him straight into the deep, dark, empty cistern. And then they sit down to eat lunch. Talk about cold-blooded. They are literally eating a meal while their teenage brother is crying out for his life from the bottom of a hole. While they're eating, they spot a caravan of Ishmaelite and Midianite traders heading down to Egypt, camels loaded with spices. Enter Judah. Judah looks at the caravan, looks at the pit, and a capitalist light bulb goes off in his head. Guys, what do we actually gain if we kill him and cover it up? Let's just sell him to these traders. He's our brother, our own flesh and blood. Let's not lay our hands on him. Yes, brotherly love, selling your sibling into human trafficking instead of murdering him. They all agree. They pull Joseph up and sell him to the traders for 20 shekels of silver. Joseph is dragged off toward Egypt. The cover-up and the cliffhanger. Meanwhile, Reuben, who was apparently off taking a walk during the sale, comes back to the pit to rescue Joseph. He looks inside. It's empty. Reuben panics. He tears his clothes in grief and runs to his brothers. The boy is gone. What am I going to do? But the brothers have a plan. They slaughter a goat, take Joseph's beautiful, annoying coat of many colors, and dip it in the blood. They take it back to Jacob and say, "We found this. Examine it to see if it's your son's robe." Notice they don't say our brother's robe, they say your son's. Jacob recognizes it instantly. His heart shatters. It is my son's robe. A ferocious animal has devoured him. Joseph has surely been torn to pieces. Jacob mourns so deeply and terribly that no one can comfort him. He refuses to let go of the grief, declaring he will go down to the grave mourning for his boy. It is utterly heartbreaking. But the chapter doesn't end there. It ends with a quick pan of the camera back to Egypt. Verse 36 says, "Meanwhile, the Midianites sold Joseph in Egypt to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard." The takeaway. It looks like a complete disaster, right? A broken family, a grieving father, a teenager sold into slavery. But this is where the Christian lens is so beautiful. God isn't absent. Even in the midst of the brothers' wickedness and Joseph's horrible suffering, God is quietly moving the chess pieces. Joseph is exactly where God needs him to be to eventually save his entire family and the known world from starvation years down the road. God doesn't cause the evil, but he is an absolute master at recycling it for his good purposes.